I don't know if I want to truly put it out there, but I believe in my heart. I know the people that were responsible. And I just hope that the weight of the burden of what they're carrying breaks them.
By the time this interview aired, Kortne Stouffer had been missing for 13 years, and the last person to see Courtney says he fell asleep next to her around 4:30 in the morning. When he woke up a few hours later, she was gone. Her car sat in the driveway, her keys were on the counter, her phone was still in the apartment. Even her dog was there, seemingly relaxed. But Courtney had disappeared. July 29th, 2012 started out like most summer Sundays in Palmyra, Pennsylvania, a small borough tucked into Lebanon County where nothing much really happens. This was a place where people confidently left their doors unlocked, and children rode their bikes freely until the streetlights came on. By that Sunday morning, the police had already been to Courtney's apartment twice during the night, both times for noise complaints, and both times they found nothing that seemed dangerous. By 7:30 that morning, a 21-year-old woman had disappeared from her locked apartment without her phone, her keys, and without leaving a single trace. Kortne Sierra Stouffer grew up in central Pennsylvania. Born on April 24th, 1991, she was raised on a 10-acre farm outside Harrisburg in a large, close-knit family. She was one of 6 children. From a young age, Courtney loved animals. She rode horses, raised show goats, and got her beloved dog Sheba when she was 8 years old. Friends and family described her as confident, artistic, and musically gifted. She loved to sing and dance and had no problem being the center of attention. By the time she was 21, Courtney had adopted what some called a flower child persona. She embraced a free-spirited lifestyle. She loved tie-dye, reggae music, and spending time outdoors. Her hair was long and blonde, often styled in partial dreadlocks or braids. She stood 5 feet 8, weighed around 115 pounds, and had green eyes and a mole on her right cheek. She had several tattoos, including the words "One Love" on her right bicep, 3 stars on her right foot, and a pistol with flowers on her left side. Courtney worked as a hairstylist at El Salon in Palmyra. She also worked as a dog groomer and helped out with her father's business, Stouffer Equipment. She had recently moved into her own apartment in Palmyra with her boyfriend. Those who knew her said she could be fiery at times and never hesitated to speak her mind. She was loyal to her family and friends, and she rarely went a day without talking to them. At the time she went missing, Courtney was living in a duplex at 810 West Main Street in Palmyra. She shared the place with her boyfriend, Brad Herr, who was 20 years old and on probation for driving under the influence. He was under house arrest as part of that probation. The duplex setup meant thin walls and close quarters with the neighbors. Any little noise could travel, even an argument could be overheard. And there had been arguments, plenty of them. The neighbors had called the police on Courtney before, multiple times actually, complaining about loud music and stomping, underage drinking, and parties that went too late. Living below Courtney's apartment were Janice Riemenschneider and Rich Sheets. In the other half of the duplex lived a man named Todd Saksek. Courtney also had her own complaints about the neighbors. She told friends and family that someone had broken into her apartment in the weeks before she disappeared. She believed it was someone from the building or nearby, someone who had access or knew her schedule. Nothing major was taken, but things had been moved around. The situation left her uneasy. The week before she vanished, Courtney even called her mother, claiming that Todd was videotaping her. The tension between the two neighbors had been building for months. On Saturday night, July 28th, 2012, Courtney and her boyfriend had people over at their place. Not a huge party, just a few friends hanging out, having drinks, being young and loud in a quiet town on a summer night. At some point that evening, the neighbors had enough, so they called the police. When officers arrived around 10 o'clock, they found Courtney's boyfriend with alcohol in his possession. That was a direct violation of his house arrest terms, leading them to arrest him on the spot and take him away. Courtney was furious. Her boyfriend had just been hauled off to jail for something she saw as a probation violation that could mean serious jail time. Her whole night had been disrupted. She decided she was not going to sit home alone and stew over it. Around 10 o'clock that night, she received text messages from 2 friends, 29-year-old Cody Pruitt and Milton Rodriguez. They invited her to meet them at a bar. Courtney drove to the gas station bar in Hummelstown, leaving her car there. She met up with Cody and Milton, along with another couple. The group decided to head to Harrisburg, about 25 minutes away. They all piled into Milton's car, with Cody driving, and made their way to 2nd Street, a popular nightlife area. Things at the bar did not go smoothly. They ended up at a place called the Hardware Bar on 2nd Street. Courtney got into a confrontation with a couple there. She approached and accused them of being involved in previous thefts from her apartment, possibly of stolen money or drugs. Some sources identify the man as someone named Arvard Brown. Accounts differ on exactly what sparked the confrontation, but Courtney was vocal about the break-in. She was angry, and the argument escalated greatly, so the bar staff decided Courtney needed to leave. She was kicked out sometime between 1 and 1:30 in the morning, causing her to get separated from her friends briefly, but they found each other outside, and the group stopped for a quick pizza before heading back to the car. It was now around 2 in the morning, and the group headed back toward Palmyra. Cody, still driving Milton's car, dropped off the other couple first, then dropped Milton at his residence on West Cherry Street. Courtney asked Cody to take her back to the gas station bar so she could pick up her car. He did so, but he was concerned she had been drinking too much. When she got in her car and started driving, Cody followed behind her in Milton's vehicle to make sure she got home safely, and they arrived at her apartment around 3 in the morning. When Courtney pulled up to her building, some of the neighbors were outside. She immediately got into it with them. She was still wound up from the bar, still angry about her boyfriend being arrested, and she believed these neighbors were responsible for calling the police earlier that night. According to Janice Riemenschneider and Rich Sheets, who lived in the apartment below Courtney's, they saw Courtney kick and swing at Todd Saksek. They claimed Cody Pruitt, who was there with Courtney, was also being hostile toward them. What happened next would be documented by multiple police responses. Rich Sheets went inside and called the police at 3:12 in the morning. This was the second time that night officers had been called to Courtney's address. Police arrived around 3:15 and stayed until almost 4. By the time they got there, the shouting had moved indoors. The officers talked to everyone involved, and they told Courtney and Cody to go inside and calm down. They warned all the neighbors that if they had to come back again, someone was getting arrested, so everyone went to their respective apartments. But Courtney was still upset. After the police left, she started stomping around her apartment. She was banging on the floor, slamming things, making as much noise as possible. It was her way of retaliating against the neighbors who kept calling the cops on her. Cody was still there with her, but he was exhausted since he had been drinking. According to his later account, when they heard the police had been called again, they turned off all the lights and pretended to be asleep to avoid more trouble. Todd Saksek had called the police at 4:12 in the morning. This was the third time in one night. The police showed up around 4:30. This time, when they arrived, the apartment was completely silent. They knocked on Courtney's door and got no answer. They knocked again. Still nothing. They also noticed that the lights were off. They then went to Todd's apartment and knocked, but got no answer there either. The police figured everyone had finally gone to bed, so they made a note in their report and left. Cody Pruitt woke up sometime between 7:15 and 7:30 in the morning. He had been sleeping in Courtney's bed and was still foggy from drinking the night before. Then he noticed the apartment was quiet. He looked around for Courtney, but she was not in the bedroom. He walked through the entire apartment looking for her. The bathroom was empty, the living room was empty, and she was not anywhere in the duplex. He noticed that her car was parked outside in the driveway. Her keys were on the stair landing where she always left them. Her purse was by her bed. Her cell phone was there. Even her dog was inside, seemingly unbothered. Cody left the apartment and went to a nearby convenience store. Surveillance cameras would later show him there buying food and drinks. He used both a payphone and his cell phone to try reaching Courtney, even sent her a text saying he did not see her when he woke up. Then he drove Milton's car back to return it. He did not call the police or reach out to Courtney's family. He just went about his day, figuring she had gone somewhere and would turn up eventually. Later that day, Courtney's family started trying to reach her. She was supposed to go to the Lebanon area fair with her brother and grandfather, but she never showed up. Her mother Wendy and father Scott started calling her cell phone, yet it went straight to voicemail. They also sent text messages and got no response back. By late afternoon, they knew something was wrong. Their daughter always answered her phone. She always checked in. Scott Stouffer drove to her apartment and saw that her car was there, but she was not. They went inside and found all her belongings. Her phone showed missed calls from them, but no sign that she had seen them. Scott immediately called the Palmyra Police Department and reported his daughter missing that evening. The police started investigating immediately. They talked to Cody Pruitt first, and he told them everything he could remember about that night. He explained that he had gone to sleep sometime around 4 in the morning, after the police left the last time. Courtney had been in the bedroom with him, but when he woke up around 7:30, she was gone. He heard not a single thing during the night, no doors opening or closing, no voices or sounds of struggle. The police brought Cody in for multiple interviews. They asked him the same questions over and over, looking for inconsistencies. They even administered a polygraph test, which he took and passed. He also provided DNA samples. Detectives checked his story against phone records, against the surveillance footage from the convenience store, against the timeline of police visits, practically against everything they could verify. They searched his home, searched Milton Rodriguez's home and car, and his accounts still held up. The police publicly stated they did not consider either Cody Pruitt or Milton Rodriguez to be suspects or persons of interest. Still, so many question how someone could sleep through another person disappearing from the same bed. Police then turned their attention to the neighbors. Todd Saksek, the man who lived in the other half of the duplex, the one Courtney had been arguing with hours before she disappeared, became a person of interest. Investigators learned that in the days before Courtney disappeared, Todd had left a voicemail for the landlady. In it, he said that if she did not deal with Courtney and kick her out, he was going to take care of her himself. When police questioned him about this, he denied everything. He maintained he went to bed after calling the police at 4:12 in the morning and knew nothing about what happened to Courtney. Investigators talked to Todd extensively. They searched his apartment and looked for any evidence that might connect him to Courtney's disappearance. In his apartment, they found black garbage bags, which raised suspicion, but Todd claimed they were from home renovations. They also searched his vehicle, but found nothing conclusive. No physical evidence tied him to any crime. Janice Riemenschneider and Rich Sheets, the couple living below Courtney's apartment, were also questioned, but not heavily investigated. The couple from the bar also drew serious scrutiny. The altercation at Hardware Bar had been with Arvard Brown and his girlfriend, though some reports suggest Courtney confronted Arvard directly as well. She had accused him of stealing money from her apartment, possibly money or drugs. Police investigated whether Arvard might have followed Courtney home that night to settle scores, since Harrisburg to Palmyra is about a 25-minute drive. But when security cameras at the bar and along potential routes were checked, nothing showed anyone following her. Arvard told police he had an alibi for the hours Courtney disappeared. He claimed he and his girlfriend had been at his parents' home all night, and police checked his story. On the surface, it seemed to hold up, but 3 months later, in October 2012, Arvard Brown and 3 accomplices committed a violent home invasion and armed robbery in Dauphin County. They broke into a residence, terrorized a woman and her 8-year-old child at gunpoint, and stole guns along with other items that were never recovered. The details of that robbery sounded disturbingly similar to theories about what might have happened to Courtney. Arvard was not arrested for that crime until 2016, when he and his accomplices, Todd Klein, Kyle Mayer, and Jacob Walsh, all pleaded guilty. This revelation raised so many new questions. Here was someone who had an angry confrontation with Courtney just hours before she vanished. Someone she had publicly accused of robbing her apartment, and just 3 months after she disappeared, that same person participated in a home invasion robbery. The timing seemed too significant to ignore. Yet police maintained that Arvard had been cleared based on his alibi. How thoroughly that alibi was verified remains unclear. Then there was the issue of the carpet. After Courtney disappeared, investigators and her family discovered that a rug from her apartment was missing. The strange part is that nobody knows when it vanished. It could have been taken during the night Courtney disappeared. It also could have been gone before that night and no one noticed. Some wonder if it went missing after she vanished, taken by someone who knew something. The rug was not small. It would have been large enough to roll something up in, which is exactly what fueled the darkest theories. But despite extensive searches of the apartment, no evidence of violence was found. No blood, signs of struggle, and no forensic indication that anything violent had occurred there. The rug has never been located, and to this day, no one can say for certain when it went missing or what happened to it. Around 2014, 2 years after Courtney vanished, a 26-year-old woman named Amanda Ballister from South Lebanon Township came forward claiming to have information. She told police she had overheard a conversation between 2 acquaintances. According to Ballister, they said they had killed Courtney while stealing marijuana and money from her apartment. When she could not pay what she owed, they murdered her, wrapped her body in the missing carpet, and dumped her in Memorial Lake, about 12 miles from Courtney's residence. The woman provided specific locations and claimed she had inside knowledge of what happened. Police took the tip seriously. The Lebanon County District Attorney initially dismissed her claims, citing inconsistencies in her story. But Scott Stouffer, Courtney's father, wanted the lake to be searched. The Pennsylvania State Police agreed to help. On April 1st, 2014, they organized dive teams. For 5 hours, they used underwater cameras and sonar equipment to search the 85-acre lake, which reaches depths of 22 feet. They found nothing, no evidence to support what Ballister had claimed. A volunteer diver conducted his own search later that spring. Again, nothing. Investigators could never verify the woman's story, and the DA maintained that her credibility was questionable because her account changed multiple times. Some believed she had genuine information but got details wrong, while others thought she was looking for attention or possibly involved in something herself and trying to redirect the investigation. Another theory involved a biker club. This one came from an unusual source. A cable installer was working at the home of a state trooper in the Palmyra area. When the trooper learned where the installer lived, he mentioned the Kortne Stouffer case. According to the installer's account, the trooper said investigators believed Courtney had been taken by members of a motorcycle club and buried somewhere upstate. The trooper allegedly said they would probably never be able to prove it. This theory has never been confirmed by any official source, and it remains nothing more than a rumor, but it continues to circulate in discussions about the case. A Florida-based private investigator named Bill Warner proposed another theory. He believed Courtney might have been the victim of a serial killer operating across Kentucky and surrounding states. According to Warner, at least 18 young women who fit a similar profile had gone missing or been murdered around the same time period. They were all petite with long blonde hair, blue or brown eyes, and between 18 and 26 years old. The disappearances stretched from Florida to Michigan, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania. Warner thought the physical similarities were too striking to ignore. The Lebanon County District Attorney, David Arnold, strongly disagreed. He stated publicly that if there was any indication of a serial killer operating in the area, law enforcement would absolutely let the community know. Arnold said there was nothing factual to suggest one person was responsible for all these disappearances across such a wide geographic region. Scott Stouffer also dismissed the theory. He told media outlets that he and county investigators had been following other leads and did not believe Courtney's case was connected to any others. The theory never gained traction with law enforcement. In 2015, 3 years after Courtney disappeared, her family hired a private investigator named Leah Jennings to help with the case. Jennings explained that sometimes people will talk to a private investigator when they would not talk to the police, because a private investigator does not have the authority to arrest them. She conducted her own interviews and followed leads, but nothing brought the family closer to finding Courtney. The reward for information leading to Courtney has grown over the years. It started at $25,000, then increased to $50,000, and eventually reached $100,000. Each increase was meant to motivate someone who might have information to finally come forward. The timeline is what makes this case so strange. Courtney was confirmed to be in her apartment at 4:30 in the morning when police last responded. Cody says he fell asleep shortly after that and woke up around 7. That leaves a window of just over 2 hours. In that time, Courtney either left on her own or someone came into the apartment and took her. If she left voluntarily, why would she leave her phone, her keys, her purse, and her car? If someone took her, how did they do it without waking Cody? How did they get in? How did they get out? The apartment had no signs of forced entry, and everything seemed normal when Cody woke up. Courtney's dog, Sheba, who typically barked at strangers, did not alert anyone. Some have suggested that maybe Courtney knew whoever came to the door. Maybe it was someone she trusted, or maybe it was someone she let in willingly. But why would she do that at around 5 in the morning? And where would she go without her phone or keys? Some speculate that maybe Courtney went outside for some reason, maybe to smoke a cigarette or get some air, and encountered someone. Maybe Todd, or maybe someone else who had been watching the building. In this scenario, she was grabbed by whoever it was before she could get back inside. But again, this does not really explain why she would leave without her phone or shoes. Courtney was found to be a cautious person in many ways. Her family says she would not have gone outside alone in the middle of the night, especially after everything that had happened that evening. Police conducted extensive searches in the weeks and months after Courtney disappeared. They used dogs. They checked wooded areas around Palmyra, even looked in abandoned buildings and nearby properties. They interviewed dozens of people who knew Courtney or who had been in the area that night. They followed up on hundreds of tips, yet nothing led to Courtney or to solid evidence of what happened to her. In 2022, 10 years after Courtney vanished, Chief County Detective Jonathan Hess issued a press release on behalf of the Lebanon County District Attorney's Office. The press release provided a detailed timeline of the events from that night and reaffirmed that the case remained open and active. Hess stated that the Palmyra Borough Police Department and the Lebanon County Detective Bureau had been joined in the investigation by federal and state law enforcement partners, including the FBI. The case was being treated as a homicide. Given the general lack of evidence, nobody had been ruled out as a suspect. They asked the public to come forward with any information, no matter how small it might seem. By 2023, however, the family was expressing frustration with the lack of communication from law enforcement. When news outlets reached out to the Lebanon County District Attorney's Office and Palmyra Police Department for updates on the case, neither returned their calls nor emails. The family felt they were being left in the dark about the status of the investigation. Courtney's family has never stopped searching. Her mother and father have kept her case in the media. They organize vigils on the anniversary of her disappearance. They maintain a social media presence dedicated to finding answers. They have said publicly that they believe someone in Palmyra knows what happened. Someone saw something, someone heard something. They have pleaded for that person to come forward. The case of Kortne Stouffer remains unsolved. More than 12 years have passed since that summer night in 2012. She would be in her mid-30s now, and yet her family still waits for answers. Police say they continue to investigate any credible leads, but people still ask the same questions. Did Courtney leave on her own? Did someone take her? If someone took her, who and why? The case remains one of the most puzzling disappearances in Pennsylvania history. How does a young woman vanish from her apartment in the middle of the night, leaving everything behind? The police had literally been there minutes before. A friend was sleeping in the same room next to her. Neighbors were probably awake and listening, and somehow, in the quiet hours before dawn, Kortne Stouffer disappeared without a single trace. The Lebanon County District Attorney's Office continues to accept tips on the case. Anyone with information about Courtney's disappearance is urged to contact the Palmyra Police Department or the Pennsylvania State Police. Her family continues to search for answers. Every year on July 29th, they gather to remember her and to ask the community not to forget. They have never given up hope that someone will finally come forward with the truth, because somewhere, someone knows what happened to Kortne Stouffer that night. And until that person speaks, her family will keep waiting, keep searching, keep asking the same question they have been asking since that Sunday morning in 2012. Where is Courtney? If you found this video enlightening, I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell. A like makes a big difference for the channel, and if you didn't enjoy it, a dislike serves as helpful feedback too. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Feel free to comment below if there's any information I missed or other cases you'd like me to cover. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.